Hello and welcome to another edition of Luminar Coffee Break. I'm your host, Vanelli. Now we have a special guest here today. She's my co-host for a coffee break. She's also a photographer and, of course, a editing coach. Her name is Angela Andrieux. Here she is.
Angela Andrieux.
I know. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
We went together for since COVID now, right?
Right.
And we produced how many of these episodes?
Oh Lord, we've been something like 230, I think, at this point. And that doesn't include the YouTube ones. That's just on Facebook. So add probably another 100.
Yeah. So we went producing. So your topic today is on perspective.
Yes. So we're going to talk about my theme that I've been doing this week on Facebook in our Facebook group is common newbie mistakes. And one of those is little things that we can do to make our image a lot better. And that's correcting our perspective, correcting our horizontals and our verticals. So the easiest one to start with is with when you're taking a picture and you have an obvious horizon, making sure that horizon is straight. So let's go ahead and dive into our first image.
Yeah, before we do that, let's take a quick moment. We're going to thank our partners. Okay?
Good idea.
Fujifilm. Make images, share stories, and experience moments at the speed of life with Fujifilm. Thank you for staying at home with us. And we're back in Angela. I don't think you realize we have a lot of people from Japan and all over the world coming in to visit. So
awesome.
This is going to be really excited. All right, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. So let's go ahead, and there we go. I see that my Luminar is up on the screen here. So I have a picture that I took in Morro Bay, California. Beautiful sunset, a little bit of fill flash on the pelican in the foreground, but you'll see that my horizon is crooked. So the first thing we can do is go up to our canvas tools and go into crop and rotate. So this is one of the ways we can correct those horizontals and verticals is just by rotating the image within the crop tool. If you move your mouse pointer just outside of the image, you get a double-headed arrow, which allows you to rotate the image. So I'm just going to go ahead and slightly rotate this until my horizon is straight. You'll see once I have my mouse clicked and I'm turning that we get a nice grid over the image. And that allows you to more precisely align whatever it is you want to have horizontal and vertical in the image. So in this image, we have not only our horizon, but we have the mast of the boat. We have this piling out here, another boat over here. And then we also have our subject. So one thing that you need to pay attention to when you're correcting your horizon is sometimes a perfectly correct horizon can make everything else in the image feel a little bit askew. So you have to kind of find a balance between those things and notice that a pier piling out here is not going to be necessarily perfectly straight. Neither are the boats. The boats are going to be kind of moving back and forth in the water, so they might not be perfectly straight. And then, of course, if we get to a point where our subject is feeling tilted backwards, that's not going to feel right with the image. So not only do we want to be precise with our horizon, we also want to make the image feel good when your viewer is looking at it. So with this one, I'm going to go ahead and just adjust this a little bit more. Make sure that my subject looks good, is not tilted backwards. The boats are going to be moving, so that's okay that they're not perfectly straight, and I think that looks good, so I'll hit return on my keyboard to go ahead and commit that crop. And just to finish off this image with a very quick edit, I'll go over to my essentials, AI enhance, and bring up my AI accent. I might even bring up a little bit of sky enhancer to make that sunset really glow. And now there's two other things that I want to address here. The eye and the face of the pelican is a little bit dark, and my foreground down here caught a little bit too much of the fill flash. So let's first go into our Pro Tools and into Dodge and Burn. I'm going to click on Start Painting and Lighten. And I'll use the bracket keys on my keyboard, make my brush a little bit smaller, and I'm just going to brush in a little bit of brightness here over the face of the pelican. And then I'll go to my overall amount here, and I'll pull that way down until it looks natural. So if we had it all the way up at 100, it was a little bit overly bright. So we pull that back and it blends really nicely and seamlessly. So I'll go ahead and click done on that. And to go ahead and deal with this ice plant here that's in the foreground a little bit bright, we'll go to adjustable gradient. I'll click on set orientation. And that'll bring up my gradient here on top of the image. I'll pull that down and then pull my transition down right about there. Maybe move that up a touch more. I'll click on the tab for bottom and then just pull the exposure down to make everything blend a little bit more seamlessly. So I'll click done on that, and then we'll do our visibility icon to see our before and our after with those changes. But if we want to see what it looked like before we made that horizon correction, we can go down here to our history, scroll to the bottom and click on original. So there's what we started with, a little bit crooked, a little bit dark, and then what we ended up with a very quick edit, and that correcting of the horizon just makes the whole thing kind of come together. So that's my first example. The easiest way to do it is via the crop tool and rotating. But if you have something that's a little bit more challenging, you can go into so we go here to the canvas tools. Instead of going to crop and rotate, we go to lens and geometry. So this image is an old riverboat that used to be sitting out on the San Diego Bay. It's since been towed off, and I wish I knew what happened to it because it was a super cool structure. So a structure like this, you can see we have a ton of verticals and horizontals. And excuse me, we have some things going on here like the decay of the structure. So things are not going to be perfectly right angles. This is also a boat, so there's going to be some natural curvature. So we want to take all of that into consideration when we make these corrections. So the first thing I want to start here is with our lens distortion. If you look here, especially over here on the right side, you can see there's a little bit of pincushion distortion. So we can go ahead and adjust that. And that just straightens out some of these lines here on the edge. Then we can go down to our verticals, horizontals, and we have rotation here as well. So we can adjust our verticals just a tiny bit, and maybe our horizontals right about like so. And now everything looks a little bit more straightened out. They're very subtle changes, but they make a big difference. We can go to our rotate. Sorry about that, guys. I got a tickle in my throat. All right, so we can rotate this until the bulk of those horizontal and vertical lines are aligned the way we want them. That looks pretty good. Now that we've done that, we have a little bit of space here around the edges that is not filling up our canvas. And that's where we go to this scale tool, or scale slider, and we move that until we fill in those edges. So there we go. We have a much more pleasing look at our verticals or horizontals than we did before. So we can go here to our before and our after, and it looks much better. Sorry, everybody. Give me just a moment here.
God bless you.
All right. So, pardon?
God bless you.
Oh, just a tickle in my throat that won't go away. All right, from here, we can go ahead and do some really quick edits. I'll go over to my essentials, bring up my AI accent. Definitely add some structure. When you're talking about a structure that's old and decaying, structure is a really fun slider to use. It brings out all that grit and the detail and the peeling paint, and maybe even add a little bit of boost. And honestly, I'd probably call that image done. I really like how it turned out. It brought out all of those details of an old decaying structure. And we were able to align all of those horizontals and verticals in a way that makes it look better. So let's take a look at our before and our after. Subtle changes that can make a big difference in your final image. What do you think, Vanelli?
Oh, I love it. What I really like best about it is when you did that last final, you could definitely see how the shift in the vertical and the horizontal made a huge change.
Yeah, it's a big difference. And it's, you only have to move those sliders a tiny bit. You have to have a very gentle touch with each of those perspective sliders because they can make your image look really wonky really quickly. So sometimes all you need are between 1 to 5 is what most images require. Very few can benefit from higher settings, but they're there if you need them. So if you're shooting, up at a building and you're not able to have a tilt shift lens, different perspectives require different corrections. So they're there if you need them. But for most of my images, I find that a very subtle touch is the best way to go.
Well, that's great. Now, let's see. Julie says, hello, everyone. How you doing, Julie? We have our friend Big Mac and a few others in from Japan. That's always great to see them. And
Welcome, everyone.
From Japan. And
Yep.
let's see. Snoop, a.k.a., they took the hurricane for us. So I don't know if there's 2 hurricanes back to back, and Florida got missed, but Texas got hit. So we thank our people in Texas for giving us a break from the
weather coming to Texas right now.
Yep. So, hey, let's go. Well, today's Wednesday. What does that mean?
That means that just in about 20 minutes, we have our Luminar happy hour where you can meet with Vanelli and I on Zoom. And we're going to have a casual conversation about photography, editing, and then you have access to ask us questions and see each other's faces, and that's kind of fun. I like it.
Now our topic today is going to be on asking questions, correct?
Yeah, what I'd like to do is find out what you love about Luminar, whether it's a specific tool that you really like, or a look, or the editing workflow, whatever it is that you like about the software. And then one thing that you would like to learn more about, or that you would like to see changed or different. And that can include feature requests and all of that kind of stuff. And that'll let Vanelli and I know what you want to learn about on future Luminar coffee breaks, because your topics, your questions are what fuel this program. We're here to answer your questions.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to do it.
Well, guys, and again, thank you for being here today. So our coffee breaks, like I said, will be every day, Monday through Friday, rather, 5 p.m. And then on Wednesdays, we do have that special after happy hour at 5:30 where you can ask questions and hang with us from there. We also have Angela on our Facebook group at 1 p.m., which 1 p.m. Pacific time. So it's 4 p.m. Eastern time. And on Facebook, my 11 a.m. one that we've done we did 2 a day since quarantine, that one will be a recording of what we do the day before. All right? So I hope you guys can join us for that. We have exciting news we want to share with you, but I think we'll talk a little bit about that in the next hour. All right? Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us, and I'll see you at the next coffee break. Guess what? I was muted. Dang it. I knew I should have done this. Say